When millionaire businessman Richard Hale found out that his only daughter, Lily, had suddenly gone blind, his world fell apart. He had all the money in the world, mansions, cars, and companies, but none of it could buy back his little girl's sight. Doctors said it was psychological. Something had scared her deeply, something she refused to talk about. Richard spent millions searching for answers. But the truth, the heartbreaking truth, would come from someone he least expected, his maid, because sometimes kindness doesn't come from wealth. It comes from love, patience, and the courage to see what others choose to ignore. Before we dive into this emotional story, make sure to subscribe to Whispers of Goodness, where we share true and inspiring stories that remind us of the power of kindness, forgiveness, and love. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who could use a little light today. Richard Hale was known across New York for his sharp business mind and iron will. At just 48, he built a multi-million-dollar real estate empire from scratch. But while his boardroom victories made headlines, his personal life was a quiet tragedy. His wife had passed away when their daughter, Lily, was only 7. Since then, Richard had poured all his time into work, trying to fill the emptiness with success. Lily grew up mostly surrounded by nannies, tutors, and bodyguards. Never her father. She had everything a child could ask for: designer clothes, private schools, and vacations around the world. But what she really wanted was her father's attention. And that was the one thing Richard never had time for. Then, one winter evening, when Lily was 12, everything changed. Richard came home early for once. He wanted to surprise Lily with tickets to Paris for her 13th birthday. But when he opened the door to her room, he found her sitting on the floor, trembling, staring blankly into space. Her eyes were wide open, but they didn't move. "Lily," he said softly, in no response. "Sweetheart, it's Dad." She blinked, but her gaze didn't follow his voice. He moved closer. She didn't react. That's when panic rushed through him. Doctors came. Specialists from across the country. After dozens of tests, one of them finally said, "Mr. Hale, your daughter's eyes are perfectly healthy. There's no physical cause for the blindness. It's psychological, perhaps trauma-induced." "Trauma?" Richard repeated. "She's a child. What trauma could she have possibly?" But before he could finish, Lily began to cry. Silent tears rolled down her face, and she whispered, "I don't want to see any more, Daddy. I don't want to see." Richard felt his heart shatter. In the days that followed, the Hale mansion turned somber. Curtains were drawn, and silence filled the halls. Lily stayed in her room most of the time. Richard hired therapists, counselors, and even a live-in nurse. Nothing helped. Lily stayed blind. And that's when Maria came. Maria was a middle-aged woman from a small town in Texas. She had worked as a maid all her life. Quiet, kind, and with eyes that saw everything most people missed. She was hired just to keep the house running, clean rooms, serve meals, fold laundry. But soon, she found herself drawn to the little girl upstairs who never smiled. One afternoon, while dusting the shelves outside Lily's room, Maria heard soft humming. Curious, she peeked inside. Lily was sitting by the window, feeling the sunlight on her face. "That's a beautiful tune," Maria said gently. Lily turned her head toward the voice. "Who's there?" "It's Maria, sweetheart. I'm your new maid." There was a pause. Then Lily said quietly, "You can come in. Just don't stand too close. I don't like when people stare." Maria smiled sadly. "Don't worry. I'm not here to stare. I'm here to listen." Over the next few weeks, Maria started spending more time with Lily. She'd read stories aloud, braid her hair, and describe the world outside. The changing leaves, the birds nesting on the balcony, the rain tapping the glass. Lily began to open up. She laughed again. But whenever Maria mentioned her father, Lily would go silent. One evening, Maria gently asked, "Sweetheart, why don't you like talking about your dad?" Lily hesitated. "Because he doesn't see me, Maria. He never did." Maria frowned. "What do you mean?" Lily's voice broke. "He's always busy. When Mom died, I waited for him to hold me. But he sent me away to boarding school. He called only on birthdays. I used to draw him pictures. He never looked. When he finally came home one day, he was angry. He yelled because I'd broken one of his trophies. He didn't even notice I'd been crying. Maria's heart ached. The girl wasn't blind because she couldn't see. She was blind because she didn't want to see the pain anymore. That night, Maria went downstairs. She found Richard sitting alone in his office, staring at old photographs. "Sir," she said softly, "forgive me for speaking out of turn, but have you ever really looked at your daughter?" Richard blinked. "What are you talking about?" "I mean, truly look, sir. Not as a problem to fix. Not as another project. As your little girl." Richard frowned. "Of course, I love her. I didn't say you didn't love her," Maria interrupted gently. "I said you don't see her." Richard's jaw tightened. "That's ridiculous." But that night, as he tried to sleep, Maria's words echoed in his mind. "You don't see her." The next morning, Richard canceled all his meetings. For the first time in years, he cooked breakfast himself, burned pancakes and all. When Lily came downstairs, she smelled the smoke and smiled faintly. "What happened?" she asked. I try to make breakfast for you," he said awkwardly. She laughed, the sound small but genuine. "You should probably leave that to Maria." He chuckled. "You're right. But I wanted to try." That morning turned into a day. He walked her through the garden, described the roses, told her stories from his childhood. Slowly, gently, something began to shift. Over the next few weeks, Richard spent every spare moment with Lily. He listened more, talked less. He read her favorite books aloud. They painted together, his clumsy strokes making her giggle. And then, one sunny afternoon, it happened. Maria was cleaning the living room when she heard Lily's voice shouting, "Daddy! Daddy, look!" She rushed to the garden. Lily was standing there, tears in her eyes, staring at a butterfly resting on her hand. "Sweetheart," Richard whispered, frozen. "You can see." She nodded, trembling. "I can see you, Daddy." He dropped to his knees, crying. "Oh, Lily." She threw her arms around him. "I didn't want to see before because it hurt too much. But now I want to see everything again, especially you." Maria stood a few feet away, smiling quietly through her own tears. Later that night, Richard called Maria to his study. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You did what no doctor could." Maria smiled. "I didn't heal her, sir." "You did. You just needed to see her, and she needed to know she was seen." Richard nodded slowly. "You've reminded me what love looks like. And for that, you'll always have a place in this home." Months passed, and the Hale mansion was no longer silent. Laughter filled its halls again. Richard still ran his business, but every evening he came home early for dinner with his daughter, and Maria, Lily's blindness, had been a wall she built to protect herself from pain. But kindness, patient, gentle kindness, tore that wall down. Because sometimes the richest man in the room is not the one with the biggest bank account, but the one who finally learns to see with his heart. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might need a reminder that kindness can heal even the deepest wounds. And don't forget to subscribe to Whispers of Goodness for more stories that warm the soul and renew your faith in humanity. Remember, when you choose kindness, you don't just change someone else's life, you change your own.